Well, I don't think we think enough about how hard it is to actually do interesting and successful things. And so this is a real issue that I got into in that original book, where young people in particular would write their own script for, this is how I want the world to work. This is how, I want to run this thing and I want it to be really successful and I want X, Y, and Z, and here's what I want to be important for this. But like, the reality is everything that is worthwhile is really, really hard, and it's often really, really specific. And so I'm always telling young people something very similar. Before you make your plan for how you're going to execute, becoming a book author, for example, which a lot of people ask me about. Go talk to authors, figure it out. Figure out what the actual reality is of what matters and how people succeed. Don't write your own script with the answers that you want it to be, because often there's a real conflict. Because it's easy to come up with some plan where you're like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to write 20 pages a day, and something that's kind of hard but not too hard, and you think it's going to be fun, and it might have nothing to do with how that industry works. But on the other hand, if you can get the intelligence, maybe by interning with someone who can actually teach you about the field you really care about, and you understand, this is what's involved, then you know where to put your energy. You know where to get the leverage point. It's why in academia, for example, why the people who write papers for star venues tend to train with other stars. Because you just learn, right? If you're at MIT in the sciences, you're going to learn from people that this is what they do. They write papers for the top places. They know how to do it. The mindset's all built around it. You can see what they pay attention to and what they don't pay attention to. And that type of apprenticeship actually matters. We have to lower the bar. So we have to lower the bar from this impossible height where we put it, which is you have a one true passion, and if you figure it out, you're going to love your work starting the next day. And if you get it wrong, you're destined for a life of misery. Like, we have to lower that bar down to, there are many different things upon which you could build a life of real fulfillment and passion. But it's not just dart throwing, right? I mean, it has to be something that you have an interest in. It has to be something that you think would reward you with more flexibility and options as you got better at it, right? So it's not just arbitrary, but most people could probably pretty quickly identify 6 or 7 directions that pass those qualifiers. And so a lot of what I'm saying is that's enough. That's enough for it to pass the bar. I like this, maybe it matches some of my skills. I like the options it would open up if I did it well. It seems to resonate in some sort of ill-defined or ambiguous way. That's all enough for something to be the foundation of a passionate career. And there's probably a lot of things that pass that criteria, and that's okay. I say you should look to, let's say, professional musicians, professional athletes, professional chess players, people who have to get good in a world that has a well-defined competence hierarchy, where you have a chess ranking and you can't run away from it. You have a batting average, right? You can't get away from it. Watch how they train. Because in their world, there's a lot of effort that has gone into how do you systematically improve. And what you see is that they deliberately practice. And there's really no shortcut to deliberate practice to gaining mastery in almost any field, but in knowledge work in particular, so in this sort of whole array of sort of various creative and other types of professions, we don't think that way, and people don't actually do a lot of this sort of systematic practice. And so that's why in So Good They Can't Ignore You, I go and I hang out with a professional guitar player. And I say, okay, I want to watch you practice. And in this case, there's actually a good reason to do so, because this is someone who started playing guitar at the same time that I started playing guitar. And at the age where I was not that great, I played in a rock band, and we were like, okay, he had a record deal, was being heralded as like this talent, right, in new acoustic guitar playing. So I said, great, I want to understand, why did he become really, really good? And I didn't. Watching him practice in this sort of musician's frat house he lived in Boston with all these other musicians, answered the question 100%. He was so intense when he was practicing the guitar that he would forget to breathe. So he'd be doing this, he was trying to get a lick faster. So the way he got the lick faster is, let me play it about 10% faster than I can comfortably play it. And he was so concentrated that he'd forget to breathe, and so he would do these ragged gasps every once in a while when his body would force him to take in air. That's the whole difference. I never did that. That's stretching. You're like, what I need to do is be better at this lick. And so I'm going to push myself beyond where I'm comfortable.